Welcome to Stories We Weren't Supposed to Tell. This is a survivor-led space where we speak honestly about abuse, healing, and what it really takes to rebuild your life. This is not a substitute for therapy or medical advice. Please take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and take care of yourself while listening. If you have not listened to Dovah's story yet, pause this episode, go back, and listen to that first. We'll wait. This is where we break down the patterns, the tactics, and the behaviors that were present in Dovah's story, so you can understand what was actually happening beneath the surface. What Dovah experienced wasn't just abuse, it was manipulation layered on top of trauma starting in childhood. It was fear used to enforce silence, it was blame placed on the person being harmed, it was control disguised as protection. And over time, that kind of environment doesn't just hurt you, it conditions you to believe that you are the problem. So in this episode, we're going to slow it down and name it. We're going to talk about gaslighting, reactive abuse, DARVO, and the patterns that kept her stuck for so long. Not just so you understand her story, but so you can start recognizing these patterns in your own life. I'm Randin, here with Krystle, and here is Dovah's Manipulation Whisperer episode. I wanted to go and explain into detail before we started going into this episode, because one of the things a couple people said was you need to explain the different types of therapies they talk about, because a lot of people don't know what this stuff is. There's the EMDR therapy. It's a trauma treatment that helps your brain finally process what it didn't get to process when it happened. So when something overwhelming happens, your brain gets stuck, like the memory never got filed away properly. So instead of feeling like the past, it keeps showing up like it's still happening. So EMDR uses things like guided eye movements or tapping to help your brain reprocess that memory safely. So you don't forget what happened, it just stops owning you, basically. Have you ever went to the dentist? This is something that drives me crazy now that I know that they do it. And they tap you like this, the dental assistant. Have you ever noticed that? They just sit there and tap you on the shoulder, like
No, I
consistently.
don't know if I have noticed that.
So that's one of the reasons they do that, is because it brings you away from that moment of when they're either like numbing you or things like that.
That makes sense. Actually, my dentist will grab my arm and kind of give it a little shake every once in a while.
Mhm.
That makes sense.
Yep. And I didn't realize that, but I went and got a cavity filled last year. I had a cavity. I had one forever. And the dental assistant started tapping my arm. This was like 2 weeks after I got into it.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was so funny because I just turned to him and I was like, I know what you're doing and it's supposed to help, but please don't do it anymore because now all I can think about is why you're doing it. And he's like, I am so sorry. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. And I'm like, you know, you didn't make me uncomfortable. I promise you that. It put me in a weird place.
Now that I know what it is, please quit.
Yeah. Okay. So the other one she talked about was CBT, Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. It isn't about fixing you. It's about exposing the lies your mind learned to believe. It teaches you how your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are all connected, and how one distorted thought can spiral into anxiety, self-doubt, or staying in situations that hurt you. Like thinking, I'm the problem. I deserve that. This is just how love is. CBT comes in and says, hold up, let's check that. It helps you slow down, catch the thought, question it, and replace it with something that actually is rooted in reality. Not trauma, not fear, not conditioning. Because a lot of us didn't learn how to think clearly. We learned how to survive. CBT helps you unlearn the survival patterns so you can start responding instead of reacting. It's not about toxic positivity, it's about clarity. And once you see your thoughts for what they are, they stop controlling you. DPT stands for Dialectical Behavior Therapy, and it's basically your emotional survival toolkit. It teaches you how to regulate your emotions, set boundaries, and stop reacting in ways that hurt you later. If you've ever felt like your emotions go from 0 to 100, or you say things in the moment you wish you could take back, DPT helps you slow that down. It gives you the real skills, how to handle stress without spiraling, to stay grounded when you're triggered, and how to communicate without losing yourself. It doesn't erase what you've been through, but it does help you stop bleeding all over yourself when something happens.
Man, I I think everybody could benefit for a little bit of that.
Me too.
I know I could.
And so I started looking up all these different things today when I started thinking that, oh yeah, maybe we should definitely go into that. There's a lot of different therapies that I had no idea that they had people do.
Hmm.
And even for me that like really like looks into stuff like that,
Mhm.
I was just like, holy crap, I need to actually see. I need to try some of these things on myself. If you just Google different trauma therapies that they use.
Yeah.
It'll bring you up stuff. It'll even bring you questions and different things to do to help yourself work through it, like with the shadow work.
Yeah.
Because I didn't go to therapy because I couldn't afford it.
Right.
I paid for Faye to go to therapy.
Yeah.
She's the one that's been going.
Yeah.
So I have just been doing the shadow work and the questions on myself a few times a week where I will stay awake and do that for a couple hours. That's how I did my healing. Should I have went to therapy? Yes. Could I still benefit from therapy? Absolutely. Am I gonna go? Probably not.
One thing that really blew my mind about Dovah's story is how early the manipulation started. This wasn't just about abuse happening in the house. This was abuse being covered, twisted, minimized, blamed on her, and then fed back to her like she was the problem. And that matters because when a child grows up in that kind of environment, they don't just get hurt, they get trained to doubt themselves. Let me break down some of the manipulation tactics that were used on Dovah, starting with gaslighting.
Yeah, one thing that really blew my mind was when Dova said her mom kept telling her that if she told the truth, her dad would go to prison for life, that she would lose him forever, and she'd end up in the system. That is gaslighting.
Absolutely. For those that don't know, gaslighting is when someone manipulates your reality so hard that you stop trusting your own instincts, your own memory, and even your own right to speak up.
Some examples that Dova used, just to throw them out there so people can connect the dots. Um, Her mom made her believe that if she ever told the truth, that her father would destroy his life and her life. So he basically will kill him. He will go to prison. You'll be by yourself. When Dova and her mom got in that altercation and Dova had that reactive abuse and she fell down and she hit her head so hard that she ended up in the hospital. And when she woke up, her mom had told the medical staff that she had just fallen. And her mom also reiterated to her that if you say anything, your dad will lose his shit and you know what'll happen.
Exactly. And the things that she would say about losing his shit, he's going to kill your brother. He's going to
Mhm,
kill your brother's friend. It wasn't just he's going to be abusive.
mhm,
It was he's going to go to prison forever for killing somebody.
mhm. She was also called crazy, unstable, toxic, too much. Instead of anyone acknowledging what was actually happening to her, she was labeled as something else. And then even with her physical health, she was told she was fine, she was being dramatic, she was a hypochondriac, but there were serious medical issues going on.
Exactly. One thing that really stood out to me in that as well is when her mom called her the little hoe and called her promiscuous and told her it was her fault her brother's friend did the things to her
Mhm,
instead of getting mad at the brother and his friend. One thing that Dova said is if you're going to be painted this way, why not be this way?
mhm, absolutely. And that kind of gaslighting doesn't just confuse a child, it teaches them that their pain is not real unless that abuser says it is.
Yeah.
And she started learning that, I think she said at 5 was
Yeah.
when she realized her environment was not safe.
Yep.
She said she was 5 when her mom first pulled her hair and was like, I didn't want you. I never wanted you,"
Right. Yeah.
at 5.
5.
Um, Another thing that stood out hard was how fear was used to control her silence.
Oh, yeah. The threat-based control.
It doesn't always have to be, "I'll hurt you." Sometimes it's, "If you speak up, something worse will happen." That's still coercion. So we mentioned this before. If you tell your dad, he'll kill your brother and go to prison.
Yep.
If you tell anyone, they'll take you away and put you in the system. You'll never see your dad again. That is not protection.
No.
That is psychological imprisonment. Her mother used fear to make her silence feel safer than truth.
Absolutely. And one of the big things her mom always said is, "You won't find love. You'll never have love. You'll never be loved in the system."
And of course she wouldn't, of course she wouldn't because her whole life she never was loved. I
Right.
mean, she said her dad did, but
But later in the episode, you notice that she said that she had remembered a few things that had her questioning.
mhm,
There might be some things she doesn't fully remember about her dad.
'kay.
Oh, something that made my stomach turn is when Dova described being abused and then being treated like she had done something wrong. That stuck out to me.
Yeah, that's victim blaming. Victim blaming is when the person who was harmed gets assigned the shame, guilt, and responsibility for what was done to them.
Exactly. Just like the brother's friend. The brother's friend abused her by far, and she was the one yanked off by her hair and told that she was disgusting.
Her normal trauma responses later got used against her like proof that she was actually bad. Her sexual behavior as a teen was framed as moral failure instead of a trauma response. And I'm telling you right now, after doing interviews, women use sex after trauma as a form of control.
Absolutely.
What abusers and enablers do, they take the shame that belongs to the perpetrator and dump it into the victim.
Yeah.
And that leads us right into shaming.
Yep. And Dova's story is full of shame being used like a weapon.
Shame says not only did something bad happen, but you were bad. Her mother telling her she never wanted her repeatedly, that she was disgusting, that she was told she was too much, unstable, toxic, mentally ill, promiscuous, and basically an embarrassment. So even after her pregnancy and she had talked to her
Yes.
grandma had told her she was a slut and her child would be called a bastard by her family.
Yes.
Shame is powerful because it doesn't just hurt in the moment, it becomes the voice in your head later.
Oh, yeah. Shame is an echo that never goes away. One thing that came through loud was that Dova became the family scapegoat. That's when one person in the family gets blamed for the chaos, carries the emotional weight of the dysfunction, and gets treated like they're the reason everything goes wrong.
hmm She was labeled as the unstable one. She was the one arrested over and over and over because of the reactive abuse.
Mhm.
Her mother framed her as a difficult child, the troubled one, the problem. Meanwhile, the actual abuse and family dysfunction were never honestly addressed.
Right. And, I mean, it was clear her mother was framing her as unstable because as soon as she became an adult and got out of the situation, she was never arrested again besides one time, which involved her mother once again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's when her mother was back in her life.
Oh, I shouldn't laugh.
I've thought that on the manipulation whispers because me and you laugh a lot. I think one thing in all of the ones we've brought up that we have to use humor to get through it. I've said a million times, these stories are rough
Yeah.
and we listen to a lot of them. And our coping mechanism is to giggle a little bit.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
not that we think the situation is less than what it is or that it's a laughing matter, because really it's not.
Right.
But it's one of our ways to get through all of this stuff. One thing that really stood out was when she said her mom would push and provoke her until she reacted, and then Dova would be the one that was arrested. So classic reactive abuse.
Absolutely. Reactive abuse is when someone abuses, taunts, corners, or terrorizes you until you snap. And then they point at your reaction as proof that you're really the abusive one. Her mom showed this by hitting her in ways that wouldn't leave marks. She would provoke until Doba would black out. She would have blackout episodes and react, and then the cops would show up, and they would only see Dova's reactive abuse because she would leave the marks.
Yeah, her mother was really calculated enough to avoid visible evidence while pushing her over the edge. And this to me is one of the sickest manipulation tactics. It lets the abuser play innocent while the victim looks explosive. One of the manipulation tactics that showed up in Dovah's story is something called DARVO. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And this is when I really think that if anybody can figure out anything that will help them not be manipulated is when they can start pointing out DARVO. DARVO stands for Deny, Attack, Reverse, Victim, and Offender.
Yes.
And let me put that into a real life situation for you. Imagine someone punches you in the face. You finally get them off, you push them off of you, and they start crying, calling the cops. She attacked me. She's crazy. Look at what she did. to me. And you're sitting there like, what? Wait, what's going on here?
Right.
That's DARVO. They deny what they did, they attack your reaction, and they flip it so somehow they're the victim and you're the problem. And if you've ever walked away from a situation feeling confused, like, how did that turn so fast? That wasn't an accident, that was a tactic. And you can see this all over Dovah's story. Her mom would push her, hit her, provoke her, break her down over and over. But the second Dovah reacted, now Dovah's the unstable one. Now
Mhm.
Dovah's the problem. Now Dovah's the one getting arrested. This is DARVO in real time. And here's the part I need you to hear. Your reaction to being mistreated does not make you the abuser. They will try to make it look that way. They will sell whatever story they can. They might even convince other people of that story. But flipping the narrative does not change the truth. It just hides it. DARVO keeps survivors trapped because they know they aren't just healing, they're defending their reality.
Dovah's whole childhood had a pattern of coercive control through it all. She wasn't allowed to talk openly. She wasn't allowed therapy based on what she said her mom and dad were maybe a little afraid of what she would say during those therapy sessions.
Hmm.
Her mom controlled access to her father even once the stepfather got in the picture.
Hmm.
And she was controlled through fear, shame, religion, and mental health labels. Even her identity was attacked, how she looked, how she expressed herself, what she believed spiritually. Coercive control is about owning the person's inner world, not just controlling what they do, but controlling what they believe about themselves as well.
And I also want to add coercive control is not one isolated event either. It's a system of domination using fear, isolation, threats, humiliation, and control to keep somebody small. Another part of her story was when her husband drained the bank account, disappeared, and told people she was cheating and doing cocaine.
Yes. Even her family told her mom and her
Yeah.
stepdad.
Hmm. This is character assassination and it overlaps with the smear campaign. A smear campaign, for those of you who don't know what that is when someone lies about you or distorts the truth so other people see you as unstable, immoral, dangerous, or not trustworthy. Her husband went and spread all those lies and cut off all the support. Her family believed those lies and wrote her off. Her mother had already spent years building this image that Dovah was unstable. That's what makes a smear campaign so damaging. They usually work best when the groundwork has already been laid. Her reactive abuse, she was unstable, so from the
Yep.
outside, it did make it look like Dovah was a horrible teenager, a
Yeah.
horrible child. When in all reality, she was just a child that was never loved, a child who got all those little seeds planted in her head that she is not worthy and that she is everything that her mom said.
Yeah. And all through this, she had to hit the lowest of her lows, not being able to afford to care for herself and her child.
Mhm.
And she had to go to his mom after he left her with absolutely nothing and ended up staying for a year
Mhm.
with his mom.
Yep, and then she said she had one of those moments where she freaked out about the shower, and
Mhm.
that was all she wrote on that.
Yep.
And she said it wasn't even that big of a deal. Looking back, she knows that she had overreacted about it.
Yep.
Another tactic in this story was using morality and religion to pressure obedience.
Yep, that good little Christian girl.
Hmm.
Be that the best Christian you can.
And this is spiritual or moral manipulation. And to me, this is also really high on my list of absolutely horrific manipulation.
Spiritual manipulation is scary because you're not only dealing with what's here and now, you're dealing with what's in the future. You're told that you can't go to heaven if you don't act a certain way. But then you're told you're human. So then you make mistakes. And then the first thing that they do is tell you that if you don't fix them or you don't fix yourself, you won't go to heaven. And that's really hard. That's really hard. And then your whole life, you're just stressed about now and the future. You're stressed about things you have no control over.
Absolutely. Well, one thing that I've always thought about that, but Jesus died for our sins. So I hate that people even you got to correct your sins, you got to do this and that. Like we all sin,
Mhm.
and with religion especially. people want to point their finger and judge people because they sin differently than you.
Because who's to say swearing is a lesser sin than stealing a sucker?
Right? She was pushed into marriage because that's what Christian women do. Her sexual behavior was judged through shame, not understanding. Her authentic identity was treated like rebellion or defectiveness because it didn't match what the family wanted. She even said, I'm just going to say it, I wasn't a good Christian girl.
Yes. A couple times she
Mhm.
said that.
When religion gets weaponized, it stops being guidance and becomes another leash.
A leash with the boulder on the other end.
Yeah. And she also said that everybody says that spirituality saved them, but she had to find what worked for her. And I wholeheartedly agree to that.
Yes.
I was raised LDS. I was baptized LDS. My mom and dad never really went to church, though. It was kind
Mhm.
of just going through the motions.
Mhm.
And I actually became Catholic in high school, and I was Catholic for a long time. And I still believe in a lot of that. But there's a lot of stuff that I don't believe in. And I honestly think if you're a good person and you treat people the way they should be treated and you believe there's more, that you're going to be just fine. Right?
I agree. 100% I agree. There's a Melissa McCarthy movie that I'm thinking of, and it's called God's Favorite Idiot. And anybody asks me about my spirituality, I tell them about that show because I relate so much to the way that they perceive, or what's the word? They
Perceive.
perceive
Mhm.
spirituality. It just basically, God presents itself to the characters, and it's a lady. It's a little old lady, but it's his favorite teacher from elementary who he always felt safe around.
Mhm.
So to me, I relate really well to this because I feel like God is whoever you need him to be.
100%. Another important part of her story that I really want to discuss, and it's not always talked about as manipulation, but it absolutely is medical neglect and medical gaslighting. One thing that hit me was how often Dovah said she was in pain, sick, or showing clear signs that something was wrong, and she was just dismissed.
Exactly. And actually, one of the more scary medical problems, her friend's mom told her mom, "No, you're taking her to the hospital," because her mom showed up to pick her up, and she's like, "Oh, she'll be okay." And the friend's mom put her foot down. "No, you're going to the hospital," because she wasn't going to.
Yeah. That was when she had blood in her urine so bad from a UTI that
Yep.
her friend's mom thought she had started her period.
Yeah.
Could you imagine how painful that had to be?
So painful. I even get the lightest touch of a UTI, and I'm in bed.
UTIs
I
are
don't
awful.
know how she did it, and she was 6?
Mhm. UTIs are awful. Serious joint issues and dislocations being minimized. She got called a hypochondriac. Doctors later realizing that they were legitimate diagnoses all along.
Even in her older years, she would go to the doctor, she would tell them everything, and they would call her a pill seeker.
When a child is repeatedly taught that their body can't be trusted, they grow into adults who second guess their own symptoms, their own pain, and their own instincts.
That's one thing Dovah really did well with her healing and trauma is being her own advocate.
Hmm.
She had to advocate for herself with those doctors, and that's one thing that I really stood out to me when she talked is she finally said, "No, I'm not leaving until you look at my scans," and she really made them pay attention to her, which ended up getting her a lot of diagnoses.
You know that I worked in the medical field for quite some time, and I actually went to school for nursing. Working at the doctor's office, and I seen this quite often, is people would come in with these autoimmune diseases. They would come in with chronic fatigue syndrome.
Yeah.
There was a few other ones that are kind of sort of along those lines. They can't be proved. You can't run labs and prove it.
Mhm.
You can't do this and that. It's just one of those things of after you're talking to them with the depression, anxiety, trauma, all these different things that come together, and the doctor diagnoses them. But do you know how many doctors said that that's just bullshit?
Oh.
There was only, at the clinic that I worked at, there was only 2 doctors there out of the 10 that's agreed that those were conditions.
Dang.
Okay, now this was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of studies and a lot of things done
Oh,
since
yeah.
then. Oh, it's been longer than 10 years to go. Holy crap. It's been like 15 years. But so I just want to point that out, that is a struggle. And if you do not go and advocate and you don't go and find doctors that have studied this or that believe it, you're going to be treated like shit.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And they don't mean to do it. It's just their belief systems.
Yep.
I would say anybody who's listening, make sure that if you're just being brushed away, you go find a different doctor. And when you
Absolutely.
go, and the first time you go on that appointment, you need to specifically ask them if they believe in that diagnosis or not.
Yeah.
And if they don't believe, then you're going to leave.
And I always strongly suggest read reviews.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the stigma behind reviews are only the really mad people typically will leave the review, right? But if you think about it, how many times have you been super happy with your service so you went and left a review? Because that's how I am. Hardly ever will I be mad and leave a review, but I leave reviews when I'm overly happy with something. There might not be a lot of us, but we're out there.
I leave good reviews and I leave bad reviews. If you're mediocre, you're not going to get a review from me unless I'm getting something out of it. Like, hey, next service, you'll get 20% off if you do this. All right, bet I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But if they either have to be very good or very bad.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I agree with that. But please doctor shop, but not doctor shop in the way people think doctor shopping.
Yeah.
Like find the ones that believe in those diagnoses, and they're out there, and there's plenty of them now.
Yes.
But just from firsthand seeing that. Another thing too is, I'll be honest, I used to think that was a crock of shit too because of the medical studies.
Yeah.
And I'll just be honest, and I've grown a lot since then. But one thing is I actually got diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
By one of the doctors, and I was sitting there. It was a doctor that was my friend, knows all my stuff. I was like sitting there, and I was like, "But that's not real." And he's like, "But it is." And I'm like, "Okay." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to prove it to you that it's real."
Yeah.
He goes, "I'm gonna up your antidepressant, and in 3 weeks you'll feel better. And if that's it, then that's what you have." And I shit you not, 3 weeks later I felt better.
Holy cow.
So I do have chronic fatigue syndrome, and it is from years of abuse.
Wow.
And let's reframe that, because my abuse has been relationship abuses. My parents were great.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
anything to do with my childhood.
Yeah.
But it was just repeated behavior through that actually gave me that. There's my skeleton out of my closet of what I didn't believe, and then I was shown, yeah, actually you do.
Actually, yes.
And I'm going to prove it to you
Mhm.
by this. So
Wow. Dovah also grew up in a home where love was conditional, inconsistent, and often absent. Some examples of that: her mother withheld warmth, approval, safety, and affection. Her dad could only give support when the mom wasn't around, because she even controlled him giving her any kind of love. And then when the mom and dad ended up divorced, there was still a lack of support from the dad because he had his own mental health issues. She was forced to chase crumbs of acceptance instead of being loved freely. Emotional withholding teaches a child to perform for love and overwork for basic care.
I want to bring up something with this, though, because Dovah said when she looked back and she could see things that she's questioning if her dad loved her. I think 100% her dad loved her, but her dad was being manipulated too through her
Yes.
mom. And once you live through that manipulation, sometimes it's just easier to let him have their way
Yep.
than the consequences. So I 100% think he wanted to love and protect her, but he was being manipulated. And then after that, he had that work injury and he got
Yep.
addicted to the pain pills, she said.
Yep.
And so he was fighting his own demons this whole time.
Yep.
And from a mom standpoint mine's a little bit different, because when I went out and I started using again when I went through my first divorce, I was okay with running around because I knew my kids were taken care of.
Yeah.
Because my ex-husband, I cannot say one thing about the way he was a dad. He was
I
an
agree.
excellent dad.
Yeah.
Very loving dad, very present dad, very everything for those kids.
Yeah.
So when I was out running my muck, I wasn't worried about it.
Yeah.
And I should have been, because a whole different aspect of where's your mom at, blah, blah, blah,
Right.
which we've all worked through that now. But just saying, like, I can understand when you're going through your own mental health and your own stuff of when you kind of disconnect yourself a little bit from your children. And I
Yeah.
think that's what he was doing.
Absolutely.
Anytime Dovah pushed back, spoke up, demanded to see her dad, or tried to become her own person, she was punished. and that's boundary punishment. She demanded to see her dad when he got injured, and she was told, "You're never gonna see your dad again." As an adult, choosing her own looks and her beliefs and identity triggered criticism and put down, so, like, her dreadlocks, her tattoos, her piercings.
Yeah, her mom hated him so bad at one point, she ripped one of them out.
Yeah, yeah, when they were fighting. What I think was interesting too is she said that when she went on to disability was when she did all that stuff because she's like, "Oh, I don't have to be presentable to the world anymore.
Yeah.
I can be my own person. I don't have to worry about it."
Yes. Yep.
So I thought that was interesting when she brought that up. Whenever she tried to be herself, somebody would crush it.
Mhm.
I think that's anytime she asserted any autonomy, someone in that system tried to crush her. So she could never be her authentic self. She could
Yeah.
never be her person. For me, I love my children for who they are.
Mhm.
You know, I may give them crap about something or tease them a little bit, but I want them to be their own person. I want them, if they wanna get except face tattoos, that's where I draw the line,
Yes.
okay? That's
Yeah,
I'm
no
drawing the
face
line there, you're
tattoos.
not getting a face tattoo.
Yes.
But, I want them if Desi came home today with dreadlocks in her hair and piercings everywhere, alright, cool, if that's how you want it to
That's
be,
where
like,
we're going now.
alright, well, love you,
Yeah.
what do you do?
Yeah.
Especially when they're adults.
Yeah.
And the only thing and even when they're trying to find their identity when they're teenagers or children, try my hardest even with little Faye, with letting her have her own identity
Yes.
and her picking out things that she wants and things that she's doing. And it's hard for me sometimes because it's like completely not my style. But I'm like, I guess I'll buy those ugly ass pants, I think in my head, but I go buy them because it's her. It's
Because
what
it's
she
her.
wants.
Yes.
Abusers do not just dislike boundaries, they punish you for them. And I have not had one person that's not been a manipulator that's ever and the way they test your little boundaries. If somebody's pushing your boundaries when you first met or trying to switch things, that's the first sign that you should be like, no.
Yeah, as someone who sets that boundary, when you set that boundary, it doesn't just make them mad, it ignites them.
Mhm,
That is a typical reaction to somebody who's trying to manipulate.
mhm,
And it's crazy how many people overlook that first explosion.
mhm.
This one's subtle, but it matters. When her mom later called and said, "I want to help you, come live with me," that that wasn't real support. That became a doorway back into the control.
100%.
This is help used as leverage. Leverage for financial help came with the strings attached. Housing came with criticism, belittling, and emotional damage. And it wasn't just her, it was her and her daughter back in
Mhm.
that house. Support was offered, but not safety. And abusers love to offer rescue when it puts you back in their reaches.
Not only does it put you back in the reach, it also makes them look like I wasn't the bad person. I'm helping them. And
Yep.
look who came running back for help.
Yep.
It sets up that smear campaign.
Oh, yeah.
And it also a stroke to their ego and boosts them up because look at what I'm doing. Because everything they do it for reactions, whether it's a good reaction or a bad reaction. It's their supply. It's what they want.
Yep.
So a lot of times when they pull you back in with just the little things of like helping
And they know that you're at your lowest
and that you don't
and you're
have
going to
anybody.
be, yep, you're going to be 100% reliant.
Mhm. What makes Dovah's story so devastating is that the abuse wasn't just what was done to her, it's how every system around it kept reinforcing the lie that she was the problem. She wasn't just surviving abuse, she was surviving silence, blame, gaslighting, shame, a family system that kept protecting the wrong people. And that is exactly why survivors can spend years thinking they're crazy when they were responding normally to completely abnormal cruelty.
The truth is, Dova was never too much. She was a traumatized child being manipulated, blamed, and punished for surviving. And what makes her story powerful now is not just what she lived through, it's that she can name it, she can see it, and she made damn sure it stopped with her. Most importantly, they did not break her.
I love that. I love her. They didn't break her. I love that. They didn't break
Yes,
me.
they didn't break me. Yeah,
It's amazing.
that was when she said it, she didn't just say it. She exclaimed it.
Yes, and, that's one thing that stuck out even when she sent me her summary was
Mhm.
I was reading through it, and I'm just sitting there and my mind's spinning. I'm like,
Yeah.
this poor lady, the stuff that she went through." Because for the listeners out there that don't know, what I do is I have the people send me a short summary
Mhm.
of what their abuse and what they went through. And then from that summary, I can make, questions to ask them to keep people on track while we're doing the interview. But what I loved the most about it was at the end of even her summary, she said, "They didn't break me."
I can't even her strength, her ambition, she she told her story so, so good. I don't I don't have words to sometimes my words to thoughts or I struggle because she has came so far.
She has.
Her healing, you can see it in her face, you can feel it in her soul. She is rose above. She's not rising above, she has rose above it.
And her daughter, the how
Oh,
much her she loves her daughter.
she loves her daughter.
And, I also heard that millennials raise their kids so different that they're basically your best friends, and I can say that 100%.
Absolutely.
'Cause, I mean, Desi and Paul are my best friends. Those are the ones all the time. If I need an adventure buddy, I'm calling up Paul.
Oh,
"Hey,
yeah.
you wanna go do some crazy trip? Do you wanna go hike the Grand Canyon and stay in a tent for 3 days next to a river with no service?"
Ugh,
I know who's going with me. Paul.
Paul, not me.
Yeah. Dovah's story is a clear example of how manipulation can completely distort reality. When you are raised in an environment where you are blamed, silenced, and made to feel like the problem, you don't just carry the trauma, you carry the confusion that comes with it. You question yourself, you question your reactions, and you start to believe the narrative that has been handed down to you. But understanding these tactics changes that. When you can recognize gaslighting, when you can see reactive abuse for what it is, when you understand DARVO, you start to separate what was done to you from who you actually are. And that is where the healing begins. What Dovah shows us is that even after years of manipulation, even after being labeled, blamed, and misunderstood, you can still choose something different. You can break patterns, you can set boundaries, and you can rebuild your life in a way that is actually safe for you. Thank you, Dovah, for sharing your story and allowing us to break this down in a way that helps others understand their own experiences. If this episode brought anything up for you, please take care of yourself. You are not alone, and there's support available. You can call the Child Help Hotline at 1-800-422-4453 or the National Sexual Assault Hotline at 1-800-656-4673. If calling feels like too much, you can text HOME, HOME, to 741-741. Do you have a story that needs to be told? This space is for you. You are not crazy, you didn't imagine it, and most importantly, you are not alone. You can contact me at sunshinefayemedia@gmail.com. That is sunshinefayemedia@gmail.com. Next up, we have Teresa's story. This one will definitely pull at your heartstrings. Thanks for joining us. Please take care of yourself. Talk to you soon.